Hi, welcome back to ConvinceMeAudio and to the second episode of our tier list. Today, in-ear monitors. In the very first episode of this series, we ranked the headphones in the category they belong in. Here on CMA, we have devised a way of listing and categorizing these units so that they do not get confused with the higher tier or lower tier categories. Each category, LowFi, MidFi and HiFi, gets its own class rating, akin to the other YouTuber reviewers that you rely on a regular basis. A for excellent, B for good, C for okay, D, E, F for poor, bad and avoid, and S class for being the absolute best. But here, we separate the categories into their own sections, so that a lower tier category, even though it's S class, does not get confused with a higher tier category, though that is S class too. With that, let's begin the in-ear monitor tier list, the ConvinceMeAudio way. First and foremost, let's start with a small explanation of how this listing will work. So, we obviously have the lower tier category, which is basically $500 and below, all the way down to $10. Within the MidFi category, we cover $500 up to $999, which basically covers the MidFi category up to its apex. But the higher tier category is split into three sections. The lower tier flagships, $1,000 to about $1,800, the mid-tier flagships, which usually is $2,000 and above, and the supreme summit tier flagships, which covers from $3,500 up to the whim of the manufacturer. Starting this whole process, let's start in the summit tier category of flagship IEMs first. This, first and foremost, kicking off is the Ambient Acoustics MAD 24, the channel's reference for the performance, build quality, design, approachability from the manufacturer, etc. 24 balanced armatures, no crossover, universals and customs both. This unit, from its sound quality, which is pretty much on the levels and just behind the HiFi Mansvaras for on the go, though they do not sound the same, they're not tuned the same, but technically this is a S tier flagship IEM. This is one of the most incredible in-ear monitors I have come across in my 20 years of experience with in-ear monitors, including being at the show CanJam London last year, where we tried a variety of equipment. Next in this category is the 64 Audio U18. This cruises around $3,000 to $3,500 depending on where you get it, and if you get customs, etc. Nicely built, comfortable, balanced armatures, obviously 18 of them in this unit, though the timbre of balanced armatures is not wholly gone. Tuning is okay, bass region was a bit elevated, treble region was a bit forward. I preferred the U12T tuning. This is an A tier IEM. It's excellent, sounds pretty good, and being able to get universals and customs simultaneously is always a good perk. And this company has had some fantastic feedback from the community. A tier IEM. Next on the list, we have the Lime Ear Anima. I've spent some time with this IEM. It's very decent, tri-bore with a multitude of drivers. This performs extra well. It's a large IEM, sounds excellent. This is a full A tier IEM. I genuinely enjoyed this and I can't wait to bring you guys the review. There are some honorable mentions that have to be mentioned, but due to the fact that they've not come in for review yet, I don't feel comfortable ranking them because I've not spent far too long a time with them, and the time I have had with them has been quite limited, so it's not quite fair, because obviously throwing things on your own equipment is a lot better, such as the Jomo GS600. But when I go to the Munich show and when I go to SoCal this year, I will be able to update this list in this category and we will revisit this at a later date. But for now, for me, of all the IEMs I have heard in this category, and there's been quite a few, except the fact that I've not spent too much time with it, the Ambient Acoustics MAD 24 still is king and has not been touched yet. Next in the ranking system, let's do the mid-tier flagship IEMs, $2,000 to $3,000. There is quite a few here. First of all, starting with the Anole VX. Now, this one is a 10 balanced armature, one of my favorite tuned IEMs, period, of anything I have ever heard. It brought me back to the fold. It's ergonomically so comfortable. It's basically like a custom, but it's universal. It's tiny, it's designed for human ears, and its tuning is sublime. It was the very first time where I heard a balanced armature where it didn't sound like a balanced armature, and I was genuinely impressed. This is an S-tier class IEM. It's exceptional. Moving on to the Ambient Acoustics MAD 16. This one, like its bigger brother, comes in at $2,600. 16 balanced armatures. It's a large housing. It's a beautiful, fun sounding IEM and tuned for euphonic characteristics. I love this thing. This is an S-class tier IEM in the category of the mid-tier flagship. This thing is sublime. In fact, I think I prefer the tuning of the MAD 16 versus the MAD 24s, though MAD 24s are far more technically capable. Huge stage, incredible sounding, and you never believe that they're balanced armatures. The sub bass is deep if you use something like this, a P6P. It's sublime. Moving on to the 64Audio U12T. This is fantastic. Though the characteristics of the balanced armatures unfortunately is not lost, just like the U18, it's still tuned incredibly well. In fact, I think it might be my favorite 64Audio product. It's fantastic in this category. I'm giving this a very strong A category rating. It's absolutely fantastic. Just making the cut is the IER Z1R from Sony. You can get it cheaper now though, but this was a $2,000 IEM, so I'm going to rank it at the price point it was actually MSRP'd. This is a dynamic balanced armature, dynamic tweeter, beautifully constructed, 25 grams I think per driver. It's insanely well built. Honestly, it's like a baby HD800S on the gold touch from Low2. It's sublime. Build quality is fantastic. Comfort is not too great though, unfortunately. It's too weighty. It supports itself on your ear canal. This is an A tier category. If the comfort was better, S tier all the way, genuinely. The Indigo from Unique Melody. This is basically an upgraded version of the Unique Melody Mest Mark II. This is an A tier category IEM. It just provides a little more than the Unique Melody Mest Mark II does. This is a fantastic IEM, balanced armature, dynamic driver and E-stats with a fantastic crossover, and I absolutely love this unit. It's very loved in our community, the Unique Melody Mest Mark II, which we will get on to. This is just a slightly better version of that. This is an A tier category IEM, fits very well, construction is nice, and it's a pretty decent IEM even now, to be honest with you. After the duration of its release, it's still not really died down. It's pretty fantastic. In this category, there are some honorable mentions such as the Odin, some of the Noble IEMs. As soon as those come in for review and we get full time and analysis with these, I shall be updating this section of the IEM tier list, because this, again, like the Summit tier, is rather prohibitive. So when you buy IEMs in this category, you do find that they lose value and it's very difficult to keep swapping them for something else to actually bring in for review. Let's move on to the lower tier flagship category of $1,000 to $2,000. This is where most people actually reside in the IEM flagship category as a rule. This is where most people tend to focus on, starting with the Unique Melody Mest Mark I. Though these are no longer available, they are one of the most unique sounding in-ear monitors. They were priced at $1,200. They were absolutely exceptional, mad imaging, incredible bass. Bit of a problem with the treble region where it's a little bit spicy and the crossover could be heard. But a 5-way crossover, bone conduction, this thing was absolutely sublime. I'm going to be putting this, even now, in the A tier category. Sublime, it's fantastic. And it's only been uprooted by its successor, the Unique Melody Mest Mark II, where comfort was better, the tuning was better, crossover was better. Everything about it was actually better except the mad imaging, which was toned down a bit, which was a little bit of a shame. 2-pin connection, you can adjust cables on the fly. This unit I will put even now on the S-Class category because it's not only built well, sounds incredible and very unique, it's still holding value and it's still one of the best IEMs in this category I have ever heard. It's freaking sublime. The next one is the Monarch Mark II. This is another out of left field. This unit was pretty special. I heard it on the KN N8II, the DAP released by KN, the latest one at CanJam London, and I spent quite a while with this thing, giving me a good idea of what it can do. Fantastic bass response, good tuning. I love this IEM. I cannot wait to thoroughly test this unit as much as I have done with some of the others, and this unit definitely goes in the A tier category. You should be happy owning one of these units. It's fantastic. The Chimera Nana, first generation. This unit is $999, though it was replaced by the Nana 2 and now Nana 3. I like the tuning of these units. The crossover was done very nicely. It was okay performing. It needed a nice amount of power. This is definitely a B tier category IEM. It's pretty decent. It's not bad at all. Fit was nice. It was like honey poured over thunder, I believe is how I described it. I genuinely enjoyed these. By its successor, the Chimera Nana 2, I did not like these as much. I'm going to give these a C because the bass region was really bad. The tuning they touched and they ruined, and it just lost the magic of Nanas. I was not impressed with those in the slightest, though the treble region from memory I think was doing a good job in this category actually, and it was not bad at all, so C. It's not bad enough to go into the D, E, F categories, but it's not fantastic enough that I would ever want to spend $1,000 on. Obviously now this has been replaced by the third and second generations. Obviously it's be much cheaper on the used market, but still we have to consider MSRP. The next unit in this category, lower tier flagships, is something we reviewed recently. This is the Jomo Spider. A very strange sounding IEM. You can check out all of these reviews on the channel if you're interested in them. I did not enjoy this. I think it was one of the worst, genuinely one of the worst flagships I've ever tried in my life. It's neutral sounding up to the treble region, and then that really comes forward from memory, and it's just no. No thank you. They do some other ones. Their cheaper ones actually sounded better than their Spider. So that's why I want to try the GS600. It's $3,500, so I can't wait to see what that's doing. But all of their IEM seems to be a little treble forward, and I'm not a fan of that, genuinely. And it's just in levels of degrees, really. And this IEM, sorry mate, you're going in the D category. I don't like you. No thanks. We have a strange one here from Shaw. This is the KSC 1200, an electrostatic unit. Clean, highly detailed, requires its own energizer. It's a very interesting IEM. It's still around even to date and is still categorized at this sort of price points of the lower tier flagships. Very detailed, very quick. This IEM I definitely give an A tier because it's rather unique in the market. This one, it might be worth looking out for hearing somewhere, because I think at CanJam you might be able to have a listen to these. This is something quite interesting. Let's dive into the MidFi category. This one is $500 to $950 or so, starting with one of my favorites. It's a V-shaped IEM. This is the Jomo Supra. Actually very good in the V-shaped territory. It's very well detailed, well articulated, good bass, but obviously it's V-shaped, so you know who you are if you like V-shaped IEMs. I'm definitely putting this firmly in the A tier category. I genuinely think this was fantastic from the Jomo shootout we did. I really liked this unit a lot. The next one is the Tri-Starlight. This IEM is an interesting one, very genre specific, very odd sounding. This IEM was comfortable from memory and it's good for classical and jazz, but very genre specific. I'm putting this firmly in the C category. It was alright, it did okay, but I've heard much better. Next one is this one, the Moondrop Variations. This one is a neutral IEM. Fantastic bass response, good mid bass, just a very pleasing sound overall, and just a good performer, a jack of all trades really. And I definitely will put this nicely in the good category of B. This one is comfortable, it's not expensive enough to break the bank, and I genuinely enjoy it in the lowest part of the MidFi category at $500. This thing is fantastic. It's a very good performer. When you have it in your ears, you don't really think about other things really. It's just pleasant, really pleasant. Solaris, I believe Campfire comes in around $500-600 to up to £950 depending on where you buy this thing. It's okay. Treble region is more conducive to actually a good sound in IEM. I think its treble region was quite well articulated, not to my taste, but well articulated versus some of the lower tier MidFi stuff, and I think I put firmly this one in the C category. It's a nice IEM, it's okay. If I was forced to listen to it, I wouldn't mind it. It's not bad. It's not as good as their Andromeda. The Andromeda is pretty fantastic. This one is below 900. It's just making the cusp of the upper tier MidFi and encroaching the lower flagship category. The Andromedas, even now, the 2019 edition for me is definitely an A-tier category IEM. It's excellent. Though bass is limited, it's fantastically well tuned. I love this thing. It's fantastic. The IE800S, which now has been replaced with the IE900, this one was in the upper MidFi category, just below $1,000. This was a nice sounding Sennheiser. I've not got the IE300, 600 and 900 in yet for review, but this one, from an old one, if you can find it cheap on the used market, this was a good performer. I genuinely enjoyed it. This was the last IEM before I left the IEMs behind for a while, and then an old VX brought me back to the fold. I'll put this firmly in the B category. It's tiny, it's comfortable, wires detachable. It was a nice Sennheiser. Then we have the Shure SE846. Oh god, this was well anticipated in 2013. Good bass region, very interesting but very neutral, very boring, and this firmly sits in the C category of IEMs. No thank you. The hype was so big and then it just let me down and I was very disappointed. No thank you. Shure SE535. This IEM I loved so much I actually owned 3 of them and then I kept losing them. It became a very expensive purchase, genuinely. This has nice mid-range. Treble region is a bit artificial. This is a very old IEM. This, for me, at the time sat firmly in the B category and I think now has just been dominated and destroyed. Even the SE846 by the stuff on the table and by the lower tier ChiFi stuff. It's just ridiculous what's happening to the market. The market moved so quickly, it was ridiculous. Let's swing away to the lower tier IEMs. We've left high, super flagship, summit tier, mid tier and lower tier of flagships behind. We have just covered the MidFi category. This is where the exciting things have been happening in the ChiFi market, starting with Kato. This is a $189 IEM. It's incredible, it's comfortable, it's beautiful, it's tuned well, it's very relaxed, big soundstage. This is an S tier IEM in the lower tier category. This thing's insane. Look at this beautiful case it comes with as well. I love this thing. The Litshaw S12. This one, a planar IEM in the LowFi category. $150 or thereabouts. Incredibly nice cable, nice case, tiny housing, fits very comfortably in the ear, very thunderous bass, beautiful mid-range. Treble region is okay, it's not too bad, it's not as nice as Kato. This is another S tier category which won the award last year for the best price to performance ratio under $1,000. I love this thing, it's freaking fantastic. The next one is a V-shaped one from Jomo. This one is the Cappuccino. This one is very thunderous bass, nice detail, not too bad for this category at $200 or so. This is an A tier category IEM. I genuinely enjoyed it, honestly. It's pretty damn decent. Moving over to the lower than $100, the Aria. This thing came out of left field. It's nicely built, it's comfortable, sounds nice, good tuning. This is an A tier category IEM. I really do like that one. Moving over to Starfields from Moondrop again. This one's a slightly V-shaped one with a bit more emphasis on the treble and the bass region. A carbon nanotube driver, not too bad at all. This is a B category IEM. I actually like that one as well. It's not too bad. Some of these things are really difficult to hate, genuinely. Tin HiFi T2 Plus. This was around $50. This thing is, for this category, is an S tier. It's comfortable, it's tuned well, and it has this capability of just showing you the song in a cheap category, even lower than Aria. I love this thing. Honestly, I genuinely enjoyed it. The OH10s, Thunderous Bass. $300 price tag, might be $200 now. This is an A tier category IEM. This is really good for the time when it came out, and it's a nice performer, genuinely. This one is something that should be put on the radar. FIO FH5s. This was a nice IEM at the time in this sort of category. Again, this is a B tier IEM. I genuinely like this, but it was one of those ones I kind of had for a little while, then forgot about it and just threw it in the bin kind of thing. Well, in the drawer somewhere. I think it's buried somewhere deep. This is okay. It's not too bad. I've left the FIO IEMs behind for quite a while. Then we've got the FH7s, which this one for me was a C tier category. I did not like this one at all. Not to my like in tuning, etc. Then we have the Tin T3. I put this in the C tier category. The original Tin T2, this is a B tier category IEM. These are all the cheap ones that are pretty damn decent. Not too bad sounding. The Tin T2 was nice. The Tin T3 really did take it up a notch, and nice cable with it, etc. This was quite fascinating. But the dominant ones have been Kato and S12s. These have held their ground. These have held their placement, even though they've been out for well over a year now and they've not been replaced. These are absolutely staples in our audiophile communities. These are freaking fantastic. If you enjoy videos such as these, consider joining Patreon, where all the reviews are first published there, then on YouTube later. But if this is beyond you, your like, subscribe and share is all I require from you. All of your support goes to supporting the channel, funding our cameraman, funding our editor, and it's very much appreciated. I am Koji. I will see you in the next episode of the tier list series on CMA. Peace.